Good evening, grave robbers. Welcome back to the television graveyard. We're your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This is a podcast in which we will analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran only one season or only one episode. With me as always is TV's Noah Houlihan.
7 years doing television.
We are doing the 1990 TGIF show, Dad's a Dog.
Dad's a Dog.
Because it had been a little while since we'd done a talking dog.
Yes, believe it or not, it has been. So here is a talking dog show, sort of. It is a talking dog show. It is a show about a talking dog show. And this is a podcast about a show about a talking dog show. Right? I said that right?
Hold up. I'm just a dude playing another dude.
Disguised as a talking dog.
Yes, so the central conceit of this show is a New York actor coming to LA to take a sitcom job.
Yeah.
Shades of Scorch. Although
yes.
Charles is going from New York, where there's a lot of theater, to LA, where TV and film are, and not Massachusetts. Or no, Connecticut? Connecticut was Scorch.
Connecticut, yeah, for Scorch.
Which I guess, you could commute to New York from Connecticut, but...
So dumb.
So, the theme sequence is very meta.
Yes.
It shows the actors, getting ready to be on the show.
Yes. And our main character, kind of being upstaged by the dog.
Yes.
And it's very clear that we are watching a VHS rip of the show.
Yeah, all the music's a little wonky.
So, just to quickly explain what's happening here. When VHS tapes were taping off the TV, the actual, film, the strip that's in a VHS, had to roll through along with the show. So it was imprinted in real time on the tape. But if you go ahead and just make a cranking motion with your arm, you imagine that you're actually doing it. You would think that when you're at the top and you're moving down would take less energy out of you than at the bottom moving up, because you're also fighting against gravity.
Okay.
What's happening here with this tape is it's not spinning at a consistent speed. So at times it's moving a little bit faster, and at times it's moving a little bit slower. So that when you then play it back, it kind of speeds up and then it slows down, and it speeds up and it slows down. So when you're playing music, you can notice the sudden change in tempo. That's the error we're getting right now.
Yeah. It didn't stop us from being able to understand anything.
Yeah.
I really only noticed it whenever there was music.
Yes, because the subtleness of the tape speeding and slowing up down isn't as audible in conversation.
Yeah.
Because conversation doesn't have a set rhythm and pace. Music is consistent, and you can hear the consistency being broken by this error on the tape. Just want to give you a little bit of VHS lesson here.
Yeah, because we get a bunch of commercials that all use music really heavily.
Yes.
And they are all... It's... To me, it's the audio version of Uncanny Valley.
Yes.
You can tell what it's supposed to sound like, but it doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah, it sounds wrong, so it sounds haunted. It's also often why VHS is used in, horror media today, is that it's so easy for it to just be off and imperfect.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about commercials?
No, I just went, oh,
Okay.
look, the New Kids on the Block. Because this is summer 1990.
Yes.
This aired, because we actually...
Very obviously.
It's Chicago's airing of it.
Yeah.
Because we get the Chicago affiliate, and there's going to be a heat wave shortly after this airs, in case you were curious.
Yeah, if you're curious about 1990s weather, we have an update.
I did find it super interesting because it said what the highs were, and the highs were considerably lower than, like, midsummer now. They were all, like, 83, 82, and I was like, oh, I feel like we're used to getting, like, 5 degrees warmer now.
Yeah, the globe seems warmer.
Oh, no. Anyway, we get Charles, who is our theater actor. He is talking to his agent. We never get his agent's name.
Yeah, which is weird.
But it's Jessica Walter who played Lucille Bluth.
Yes.
Because I turned to you during the main credits and went, it's a TGIF pilot, Michael. What could it cost? $10? Because this show looks like it cost about $10.
Yes. And she makes some sort of, like, flippant comment.
If you took all the money you've ever made in your whole career as an actor and put it all together, you couldn't buy the master bathroom.
Gee, coming from my agent, that's a real morale booster.
And then I wrote in all caps, acting. Because for a guy that's been hired to be an actor, to be playing an actor, he's atrocious. So he does, like, a very poor acting performance, and the idea here is that he's theater.
Yes.
And he looks down on television, because television's trash.
This is, like, such a big 80s, 90s actor trope.
Yeah, and this is before even, like, the trashy television starts to really come to fruition here.
I mean, this is, like, he is auditioning, like, this seemed really ambiguous whether he already had the job or if he was auditioning.
Oh,
for the
he's
job.
definitely auditioning, because I wrote down, you know how you move and buy a big house before you even know the name of the project you're auditioning for?
So he's whining because he misses New York.
Yes.
And he has an excitable son, Lawrence, and a moody teenage daughter, Sarah.
Yes, I need to mention this. The son bursts in and says something like, when you move in, I think you get a black Porsche because everybody has a black Porsche. It's like, yeah, here's a joke. And Charles' response was, I told you to go get your sister. And then I wrote down, from where?
Yeah.
I assume you all rode in the same car.
Yeah, it's also not realistically, because we watch a lot of Dropout,
Yeah.
and you get, like, insight onto how actual, like, up-and-comers are living.
Yeah.
And since he does not yet have this job, you would think he would be an up-and-comer still.
Yet not only does he not have the job, like, he's not an up-and-comer because he's a theater actor. Like, he's a successful theater actor, but theater only pays so much. Not only does he not have the job, he finds out the title of the show he's auditioning for in this scene, which is Dad's a Dog.
Some of the greatest talents of our time have lent their artistry to television. Quit being such a snob.
Oh, you're right. I am being a snob. I owe it to myself and the family at least to read Dad's a Dog.
It's very cute.
Dad's a Dog? That's the title?
The plot of the show, as he is just now learning, while he's moving into a house he bought, is a father in a family, a father, gets hit by a bus at the same time as a dog, and they get Freaky Friday'd, and the soul of the man goes into the dog.
Yep.
Does the soul of the dog go into the man? Never mentioned.
No, it implies the man's just dead. Like, his body is dead. Is this a Puchinsky? Are we doing a Puchinsky?
I think we're doing a full Buczynski. Because the dog is not a ghost, so it's not a McDuff. So
this is a full Pachinski. Pachinski airs 3 days after this.
What? Oh, what a wonderful fact.
Like, wait. Shangri-La Plaza and Cop Rock are also in 1990. Also in July 1990. 1990. What happened?
The summer of Stay Doomed, 1990.
Like, I am unwell at this revelation. Oh, he complains that, like, when your mom left, she left me with responsibilities. Yes, please burden your children with that.
Yes. I didn't want you. I wanted to be an actor. There's also a joke I want to reference here because it's very 90s of he mentions getting offered a role as an orange in an underwear commercial.
Yeah, like Fruit of the Loom.
Yes. So this was a very famous Fruit of the Loom commercial where the various fruit on the logo of Fruit of a Loom were kind of characters that would talk. And in that commercial, they come out of a cornucopia, which is why there's a Mandela effect, that there's a cornucopia on the logo of Fruit of a Loom. There isn't, but there is in the commercial they're referencing in this joke.
Oh.
I'm full of fun facts today.
So was I. I had all that 1990s trivia.
That's true. We both can be full of things.
Fun facts. This is a short pilot, guys. So, Sarah balks at the concept of him playing a cartoon dog, which...
not a cartoon dog.
Excuse me, yes. Voicing over a real dog.
Yes.
In a very 100 Deeds for Eddie McDowd situation. And I'm like, who would know? Like, genuinely. Who would know?
Yeah, that's true.
You could just say, like, oh, my father works in television.
Yeah.
And if you're as well-to-do as a lead in a television show is implied to be in this, if you're wealthy enough, no one's gonna care.
Yeah, it's 1990. They don't have IMDb.
Yeah, they don't have IMDb. There's no Google. You could just say, like, my father works in television. And nobody's gonna know. It's not like anyone's gonna recognize his face. He's voicing over a dog.
That is true.
Anyway. So he goes to audition for it, and we get this belabored joke about water options.
Yes.
Because Hollywood is weird.
God, yeah. It's very interesting, because there's this whole thing of him being like, can I have a water? And they're like, sparkling or flat, domestic or imported. And then he's like, just give me tap water. And she's like, ew. Throughout this whole thing, there's all these weird pot shots at L.A., but also at New York.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't understand what team I'm supposed to be on, but whatever. This is where he meets the writer and the producer of this show. There's this weird joke where the producer says, sit. And Charles sits down, and the audience laughs.
Tony Sheridan, executive producer.
Charles Dryden, sit. LP.
Yeah.
And I was like, is the audience of this show quick enough to realize that's kind of a dog joke? Of him being told to sit and him doing it.
Yeah, like, oh, get it? He's a puppy.
I was like, that was interesting. It was an interesting moment. Because it's a very subtle joke that doesn't... It would be a great joke on, like, a Arrested Development that doesn't have a laugh track.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could miss it if you weren't really paying attention. But the fact that there's a laugh track there ruins the idea.
Yeah, and we meet the writer and the executive producer. The executive producer is just like a sleazy... oh, you're looking at my pride and joys, because the actor picked up a framed picture that we're clearly meant to think are going to be his kids, and he goes, yeah, that's my wife and my Porsche.
Yeah.
One loves to shop, and the other's always in the shop. I'm just joking, I've had great luck with the car.
Yeah, this is like
oh man, ball and chain jokes. We love it.
I mean, it's 1990. And also, like, that's a classic joke structure of just, like, it is, surprising outcome, like, mixing with your expectations, followed by clever wordplay, followed by the, like, apology joke, where you're not apologizing for the right thing. Like, that's standard just comedy tropes. Not even tropes, like formatting.
So, we meet the writer as well, and the writer, it's the same TV writer it always is. The, like, very neurotic,
Yeah.
dweeby dude.
He reminded, like, he had a lot of quirks that were similar to Buster Bluth, to stay on the Arrested Development train here. Where, like, he kind of did some weird arm motions, and, like, he was very nervous.
He reminded me of any number of television writers that we've seen here.
Yeah, we've done so many shows about television at this point. That, like, we're seeing the code. Like, this also reminded me of In the Lion's Den. This also...
In the Lion's Den's the one I was trying to think of.
Yes. It's very similar at times to In the Lion's Den.
Puppet Man had, like, a writer like this.
Blit Happens. There's some moments in here that remind me of Blit Happens. There's just a lot of Stay Doomed shows all wrapped up in one little bow here.
Yeah, and I keep thinking of Scorch.
Yes, that's another one.
So, they have a conversation, and we find out that Charles was in Death of a Salesman.
Yes.
So he's clearly a very successful theater actor.
Right.
And the executive producer's like, yeah.
Speaking of genius, congratulations on those fantastic New York reviews for Death of a Salesman, and well-deserved.
You saw it.
First act knocked me out. How does that end, anyway?
He died.
Who?
Willie.
Wow.
Because the correct way to do that joke is the salesman.
Yeah.
But they don't do that joke correctly for some reason.
Willie Loman is like a joke in my household growing up.
Okay.
Because my dad made an allusion to Willie Loman in conversation. And my mom was like, oh yeah, like Death of a Salesman. Like, my mom got the reference.
Right.
And my dad was stunned that she got the reference. And my mom was offended that he was stunned. So now we call being offended when you get a reference and someone doesn't think you're gonna get it, we call it being Willie Loman.
Being Willie Loman.
Like, if I say something and she understands it, like if I make like a very modern pop culture reference and she gets it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you knew like Chapel Row, and she'd be like,
Yeah.
don't Willie Loman me.
Yeah.
So I thought of that because I was like, oh no, not the Willie Loman references. But yeah, Gassman, who is the writer, is very neurotic, and he is working through his daddy issues.
Yes. There's a line in here of like, the producer saying like, I'm the one that convinced him this should be a comedy. Implying that like this was a dramatic piece.
About a dog.
Yeah.
Oof.
So then we have him reading lines with who's going to be his co-star.
Melanie McBride.
Yes. And they do this bit of while they're reading lines where he's explaining he's a dog now. The producer and the writer are turning on a laugh track.
Yeah.
So in one of the most confusing scenes put to television, the characters I could do this. The characters in the show we're watching are portraying the characters in the show they're producing, and then they would make a joke, and then a laugh track that is part of the show would play laughter, and then the show's actual laugh track would laugh at the laugh track, laughing at the joke. You with me?
I don't know what we're talking about, and I haven't for a while.
Like, it's so weird watching this. Like, well, what's the joke in this? A laugh track. So every time the laugh track goes off, we'll play the laugh track.
Paul, is that you? What are you doing home?
I had a little accident.
And then blood shot out my nose. And it goes on for a while. And then there's a joke in there where Charles says, God decided not to take me today. And then he looks at the producer like, are you going to play the laugh track? And he's like, no, that's not a laugh line. And then the audience actually laughs. That's not his laugh track, because it's funny that the laugh track didn't play. This is a lot.
So the co-star is like really like weirdly flirtatious.
Yes.
And the executive producer says like, we've auditioned a lot of people, you've got the job. And he's like, well, I gotta go home and talk to my kids. I'm like, didn't you move here? If you were still on the fence about taking the job,
Yeah.
wouldn't you like have left your kids in New York with a trusted family member or friend?
Yeah, you're going back to that house after this.
And auditioned and like gotten your life like kind of ready before bringing your kids over and just uprooting their lives entirely again. So he consults his children.
Wait, before we even get to him talking to his children, I have to talk about this weird moment where immediately after they're done running the lines, the producer's like, you're perfect, you got the job. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, you don't know how many people we've auditioned.
Yeah.
And then when he leaves, they're like, we got him. I was like, why do they want him so much?
Yeah, we've never established that.
Like, there's nothing about how, like, he's a great theater actor and they're trying to bring the theater audience in. Like, there's nothing about this man that is special.
No.
But for some reason, they are dead set on having this guy. And then the scene ends with, well, if he says no, we'll just get someone else. So they don't actually want him that bad. So then how is the show getting made?
I don't know.
For a TV show, it doesn't seem to know anything about making a TV show.
No, and like, he mentions that he needs to talk to his kids, and the executive producer says something to the effect of like, see, that's why I want you. You're a dad. Only a dad would think about asking his kids. Okay.
Oh, it's... This scene is so dumb, too. The scene where he's talking to his kids. Because his agent, who again we never learn the name of, the agent is like, we want to support your dad. So no matter what your dad says, support him, okay? And his daughter goes, okay. And then he comes in and says, they want to give me the job, but I'm only going to take it if you guys are okay with it. The daughter says, I'm okay with it. And then the father says, all right, I'm going to take the job. And she goes, what? And runs away crying.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute.
Her character's awful.
Yeah.
It's so not fleshed out. She exists to create some sort of family conflict, but we don't really know why she misses New York.
It would be so simple for her to have a boyfriend in New York.
Or friends.
They mention friends. They mention like all our old friends in New York. But like something as simple as like, I miss Bobby. It's something you can say in a line. And you never really have to follow up on it. You can just be like, she doesn't care about Bobby anymore.
Yeah, she meets a new guy.
But like so many of the issues that I'm coming up with, it's like, you're 3 words away from not having a problem. You're just not saying them. It's just, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, this show.
I have a note here. These 1990 commercials are doing it for me.
Yeah, we get some more 1990 commercials, which were fun.
So we're on what is now a closed set for the filming of Dad's a Dog. And the way they film this is Charles is laying on the set with a microphone.
Yes.
Which is 100% not how this would work.
He's hiding behind the couch, which is the worst idea of how to do it. Because not only is he needing to hide so he's not seen, but he's in a position where he can't see the scene. This is not, like...
This would have been done in post.
Yeah, it's
Like,
so dumb.
It's so belabored.
He doesn't even need to be there.
He could literally, for what they're having him do, there are studios in New York City.
Yes! There's no reason for him to ever be on set except for the pilot episode where he gets hit by a bus.
Yeah, like... He could do this job remotely. So... we get the same assistant do the same joke about water.
Yes, we do a callback to that.
And the actress who plays Melanie and the actor who plays Charles have what I like to call none chemistry.
Yes, they have none chemistry. I don't think anyone has chemistry with Charles.
But, like, I think she's supposed to because I think she's intended to be a love interest.
Well, Charles doesn't like her.
Yeah, but I think she's, like... She's supposed to be a big flirt, and you don't really get her seeming appealing.
Yeah, it's...
She asks him how he feels. He gives her a long answer about his kids, and she's like, I was talking about the scene, because she really believes in the project.
Yes. She's like, oh man, there's more depth to these characters than what's on the page. You know, these characters loved each other. They had children together. And now he's a dog. What happens to their dreams now? And she gets the idea to invite him over and stay the night. Very clearly implying a sexual encounter.
And he declines.
So she storms off.
And then the writer comes in and is like, yup, that's what she does. She asks everyone to sleep with her except me.
Yes! I said except me at the same time as him. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the effing jokes.
It is.
I'm so repulsive that the whore won't sleep with me. It is a horrible joke. Like, it devalues everyone involved. This joke should die.
Yeah, it's bad. He says, like, she's emasculating me, but two can play at this game. And then there's actually a funny bit there.
I like this line a lot. This is a good joke.
It's just her way of emasculating me, you know. But what she doesn't know is two can play at that game.
What do you mean?
Tony emasculates me too.
I was like, all right, that was actually pretty good.
Yes, that was a good, like, switching up your expectations. That was a well-crafted joke.
Following up a really terrible one.
Yes.
So, they now are going to do the scene with his pretend son. And, like, they make him go under the bed this time. And it's just to emphasize the job being demeaning.
Yes.
The dog is very clearly getting treats or peanut butter.
I wrote that at the exact same part. They do actually have the dog move his mouth. And when you want an animal or a dog to move their mouth so that they can add words to it, you give them peanut butter and then it's stuck to their mouth and they go, nom, 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 nom. That's why whenever you have a talking dog movie and they actually move their lips, at some point their tongue comes out as well. Because they're licking peanut butter off the roof of their mouth.
It's very cute.
It is.
And, you know, like, he's getting snackies.
He's getting snacks. The dog's having a good time.
So, like, I feel like it's pretty ethical because he's getting snacks.
Yeah.
The dog's also only seen briefly in 2 scenes, so I wasn't super worried about the ethical treatment of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
The executive producer loves the show. The writer frets that the ending is too sappy. And Charles kind of agrees, like, the ending is too easy. Like, life doesn't work like that.
Yes. And then the producer says, the smartest line in the show.
This isn't life, Charles. This is television.
And I wanted to scream at the screen, as an actor, how do you not know that?
For real.
As an actor, are you like, man, some of this is unrealistic? It's like, have you never read some fantasy or something? Like, it's a story. There's beats and moments in it. In life, you don't have those things. Duh!
And, yeah, so he says, oh, this isn't... What I would have loved for him to say is, this isn't theater, it's television. To kind of give him that we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, because, like, in theater, there's more prestige, and you do kind of tell...
That's one of the
stories.
effing jokes. Is someone doing something demeaning in the entertainment industry and going like, I did Hamlet once.
That is one of the effing jokes right there.
Because I actually do that all the time when I'm performing. I'll be like, I was in Romeo and Juliet once. I used to do Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. And usually I am wearing a very funny hat. Or in a very, like, ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
When I'm going like, oh, I did Shakespeare once. But I'm, like, I'm leaning on that trope.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning on that being that's one of the effing jokes.
Yep. So, we then have what I think is the best scene in the show.
Yes.
Because this is the first time I was like, oh, there might be something to this. Charles comes home after doing the show, and his daughter is still very upset. And his agent's, like, watching the kids. She has a good line of,
Bobby, thanks for staying with them today.
My pleasure. When you don't have kids of your own, you need to remind yourself every once in a while why.
so that's a good line. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's one of the best uses of Jessica Walter in this show.
Yeah, I mean, we'd get more of her if this got picked up. So he goes in to talk to his daughter, and they very purposely frame it the exact same way as when he was a dog.
And he, like, realizes it.
Yeah, the daughter's in the same position as the son from the show.
Sitting on her bed.
Sitting in the bed the same way. The room is set up the same way. And he even, like, gets on the bed the same way as the dog. And then he says the same thing that the dog says. He realizes it. And he's kind of just saying it to, like, because he doesn't know what to say. And his daughter's just like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't know. Trying to show us, like, in the world of television, things are much easier than they are in reality. And if you're going to tell that story, that's pretty good. Like, to see the sitcom-y version and then the real-life version of it.
Yeah.
I think there's an idea behind it.
And what's great is instead of being like, you're right, Dad, she goes, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it breaks it in a very good way.
Mm-hmm. So that causes them to have kind of a more real conversation that's not just like sitcom dad tropes about how it is going to be hard.
Yeah.
And how, sometimes things are difficult. And you might not feel better today, but, like, we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not a, like, oh, yay, everything's fine hug moment, but it is a, like, okay, I believe you when you say things will get better. And then the son enters the room holding a telescope and says,
Dad, is it okay if I watch Johnny Carson tonight?
Sure.
Thanks.
Doesn't Johnny Carson live in Malibu?
Yeah?
When he said, watch Johnny Carson, do you think he meant Lawrence?
Because jokes are always better when you explain them.
Especially because in the background of a prior scene, You see Lawrence with a telescope.
Yeah, they already had him doing this once. So, like, this is getting back to my original thesis. 3 words fix all this.
Yeah.
It's like, the way to make that joke better is, can I watch Johnny Carson tonight? Sure. Cool. He just got home. That's all you need without being like, wait a minute. When he said...
You could even have, can I watch Johnny Carson? Yep. Cool. And he just grabs the telescope and walks out.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah. That's even less words. It's just like they just...
Why need many word when few word do trick?
It's like, it's so close, but it just, like, misses every time. Like, going all the way back to at the beginning, where it was like, I told you to get your sister, when they had all clearly come in the same car.
Yeah.
You just simply change that line to, where is your sister? Because it's weird that she's not in the house yet.
Is your sister still sulking in the car?
Yeah. Like, all of this is so fixable.
Yes.
And then that was it, but there were still, like, commercials, then credits, then commercials that we sat through and watched anyway.
I mean, a 1990 commercial do hit different.
Yeah. So, that was Dad's a Dog.
Yep.
Do you got anything to add?
No, like I said, I find it so interesting that this aired only mere days before Puchinsky, which has a very similar premise, and in the same month as our recent Shangri-La Plaza.
Shangri-La. Ew, Shangri-La. So I guess then it is verdict time.
Okay.
What you thinking?
I think it's a stay doomed because it doesn't nail the intentional suck of the show quite well enough. Like, it doesn't nail the show within a show being bad well enough to make the rest of the show look good in comparison. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not... The Garth Marenghi is not Garth Marenghiing.
Yeah. I so want to give this show a chance. Because I really feel like the show is so hampered by the fact that the main joke is that he's playing a talking dog. That is the main punchline.
Sure is.
That's going to stop being the main punchline by episode 2 because we've seen that already. So now the show has to rely on something else. And I'm curious what the show looks like once he's like wrapped up in actually being in the show and doing the character. And I see potential in this.
That's fair.
I can see like the plot lines where there's another talking dog show that comes out the same time, but that one's a police dog.
What?
And
oh no!
And the competition between the two. And, you know, storylines with the agent. And, you know, what happens when he gets really famous from doing the show. What happens when the show stops being popular. Maybe they do a plot line where it turns out the dog soul did go into his body. And now he also has to play himself being possessed by a dog. And how demeaning that is now. There's a lot of places to go with this.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there with these people.
Yeah.
So I think, unfortunately, I'm also going to give it a stay doomed. I didn't want to. But I think I do have to give this a stay doomed. I think at some point maybe we should do a tier list. 1 of all the talking animal shows. And then 2 of all the shows about making a show that we've done.
It's like a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
I mean, this show... I'm actually a little sad that this is episode 246.
Yeah.
Because this weirdly would have been such a good 250.
Oddly, yeah.
Which I didn't realize when we decided to do it today. But this actually is a really interesting episode 250.
Yeah.
Because of the way it is so many of the other shows we've done.
Yeah. Because, like, on one side of the Venn diagram, we have our Puchinsky and our Scorch and our Super Pup. And on the other side, we have our Nobody's Watching. I'm sorry?
The Lion's Den.
Yes, Into the
Puppet
Lion's
Man.
Den, Puppet Man, Project Searchlight,
Yeah.
our Contest Searchlight.
Blit Happens.
Blit Happens. And in the middle, we have Dad's a Dog.
Yeah, and to say, I mean, we didn't even put the one that this is closest to. Because really, that dog is half dog, half ghost.
Yeah, technically.
That dog really is half dog, half ghost. And he's there to protect his family.
Yeah. I'm your friend.
Gritty McDuff reboot.
That is actually something I wanted to say.
Was it now?
Yeah. The correct way to do this show is for the cheesy, my dad's a dog, like sitcom stuff to still happen. But the frame story around it about the actors to be a gritty, death to Smoochie-esque show.
Okay, I can see that.
Where, like, he's kind of like, oh, he's the friendly dog dad. Oh, I wish my dad was a dog because I love you. And then he's just a mess. He's a BoJack Horseman.
Ooh.
That's the way you do this show.
I think, I do want to recontextualize. This ran on TGIF.
Yes.
So that was never going to happen.
No. That's my way to fix this. This would be an HBO show. And, like, it would be all sex, drug, and rock and roll until filming started. The biggest thing that kills it for me is your point that he could legitimately do this job from New York.
Yeah, I realized that while we were talking. I was like, wait a minute. Like, even then, because obviously he wouldn't have had, like, the internet to make it fast, but he could do 6 weeks of episodes in a day.
Yeah.
To record lines. Mm-hmm. I mean, voice actors do that all the time, where they're recording multiple episodes in a day. Mm-hmm. Because it's just easier.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for anyone else's scenes. In most cases, you are only recording your lines and you're doing it alone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, I remember there used to be a podcast that John Oliver did before he was like John Oliver and he was all over HBO, where his co-host would constantly make fun of him for being in the Smurfs. And they were like, when Smurfs 2 happening? When Smurfs 2 happening? He's like, I don't know. I don't. And then one day he was just like, so I have news. Smurfs 2 is happening and I am in it. And they're like, when are you recording? He's like, oh, it's done. I did it over the phone. They called me and they were like, okay, now you're running. Make running noises. And I was done in an afternoon. So yeah. Voiceover's easy. I know it was only 1990 then, but, like, it's just an audio file.
Yeah, it's... And for what this is, you are very likely looking at being able to bash through multiple episodes in a day. Because you're not doing a full... You're not really doing a cartoon where you're trying to find the voice or his voice is his voice. Like, he's not doing any kind of character voice.
Yes. Also, fun note that just this show would fail. Dad's a Dog would fail.
Yeah.
Because when was Look Who's Talking?
I want to say Look Who's Talking was 89. I was
89.
close.
All right, so Look Who's Talking, if you don't know, was a film with John Travolta and Kirstie Alley as new parents. They had a baby, and you heard what the baby was thinking.
Yeah, the baby was voiced by Bruce Willis.
By Bruce Willis. And the way that movie
Fresh
worked...
off Die Hard.
Yeah. The way that movie worked was they made the whole movie, and then they had moments based on what the baby was doing, where writers then wrote lines for Bruce Willis, who did it in another, studio and never met John Travolta.
Yeah.
They then decided this should be a TV show. So they tried to do Look Who's Talking, the TV show. And the way they tried to do that was have babies perform what needed to be done to match the words that were already written. And they couldn't do it because babies aren't actors.
Correct.
So, the way you would actually make this show, which this show clearly doesn't know, is the dog would be voiced over way later, and what the dog would say would change based on what the dog did.
Yes.
Because dogs, while better actors than babies, are not perfect. They're often just eating peanut butter.
I mean, surely.
I think I got upset enough for this to be an episode.
Even Monsters, Inc. used to do, when Monsters, Inc. cast the little girl who played Boo, they cast a little girl, and they just followed her around the room with a microphone.
Really? I didn't know that.
To try to get whatever they could get from her, and then sort of wrote the script around what they could get from her.
Well, that's going to do it with this episode of Stay Doomed. Quick, programming update. There was no episode last week. I apologize for that. We mentioned that there might be a hiatus. As it stands right now, we don't think there will be a hiatus. There are some life things going on that have changed our schedules and availabilities and things that are going on. So it does not seem like we will need to take a hiatus, but that being said, we're going to have to take a strong right turn and basically stay in the land of pilots for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, summer is summering.
Summer is summering.
On the bright side, we are booked and busy.
Yes.
There are a lot of opportunities to see us or people who look strikingly like us and wear different names.
Yes, very true. It's going to be a busy summer, so unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to do anything big and special for 250.
But we're going to try to do something.
We're going to try to do something. I don't think it's going to be, Super Train or something like that. But we're going to try to do something special, but it's just going to be a more contained show. That being said, I believe we have a list of what we're doing throughout the summer. So hopefully we'll be able to drop that in our Discord, and you'll be able to basically see the future of Stay Doomed for the next 9 weeks.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
I was spending some time and I went through and kind of cobbled together some. I don't think it's finalized yet.
It's not. We definitely don't know the order, but we have a good list of what it's probably going to be.
Yeah.
And you never know. Mysterious lost media might get found and we might pounce it.
We definitely do have at least one New York trip planned.
Yes.
So there are things that I have in mind that I may try to look for at the Paley Center. Mm-hmm. But I want to...
Our yearly pilgrimage is coming up.
I want to kind of have a clear idea. If you know anything that is only at the Paley Center that you'd like us to see us do, this is a great time to let us know.
Yes.
Please remember that they only let us have about an hour and a half.
Yes.
But if there's something that there's only one episode and it's only there, absolutely drop that in the comments.
Yes, drop it in the comments.
Get in the comments!
You can reach us in our Discord, which is in the links down below. And if you don't want to use Discord, where can people find us?
You can email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com or on Blue Sky at Stay Doomed.
And if you want to talk to me about either shows about making shows or talking dog shows, I'm at TV's Noah on Blue Sky and Instagram.
If you want to try to figure out what on earth happened in the summer of 1990, I am Laura Crane on Blue Sky. Until next time, stay doomed.